I've got an individual on today that has not only crushed it in her business, as a mom, as a person that, has more interests outside of her business, right? She's not just building a business, but she's built a huge business, and she's done it more than once. And she's a top enroller, and she's really good at the Facebook. Beth Brannan, I'm excited to have you here today. We're going to rock everyone's world with your story, what you've had to overcome, raising kids, doing all the things, going out there and building businesses. And the thing that I love about you is you're just so authentic, right? You show up on social media, you keep it 100. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, right? Mm-hmm. They're like afraid to share their real story or share their real truth. We're going to talk about how to attract people, how to show up on social, how to recruit 1,000 people leveraging Facebook like Beth has over the years. And she hasn't, again, built a business just once. She's done it multiple times because she's had to. How many of us have had to start all over before, right? But before we get into all that, Beth, I was really hoping you could share a little bit about your story. We were talking beforehand, and you have such a powerful story. And, I don't know how detailed you want to get or how deep you want to go, but I do know that a lot of people have maybe a troubled background, or they've been through some things in their upbringing or in relationships, or, maybe they had some bad experiences in other businesses, whatever that looks like. We've all been through some ish. So maybe you could start off just sharing with everyone, first of all, a little bit about your story and your background, and then we'll get into some of the tips and insights and lessons you've learned over the years.
My story, John. Oh, God. Okay. So I actually left school, went into hairdressing. So as most girls do in the UK, beauty and hair was something that I was interested in. It was the only thing that I was really interested in leaving school. So I went out of school, went straight into hairdressing. Quite a big established business within the UK as well. Went on to do my apprenticeship, earning £90 a week back then, which completely scares the hell out of me now. And little after this, at 16 years old, my mum passed away. So again, for a lot of people, I've had a lot of curveballs kind of hit me since leaving school, really. And back then it was really scary. It was hard. I had to kind of learn to be an adult without a parent, and it was tough. But now looking back, it kind of molded me into the person I am. So I don't like seeing it as like a bad thing. It's more of a thing that's helped me grow and become responsible and all of that kind of thing. But a little after that, I had my first child. So I was a teen mom. I was a very young mom, even though, looking back, I think, how on earth did I even cope? I've got a nearly 13-year-old. And I'm like, I can't even cope with her. She's just absolutely, she is the sass on sass. So I had a baby. I was a single parent within a year. So me and her partner, me and her dad split up. I was then having to run a house, have a baby, earn an income. I was a hairdresser part-time, went freelance. It wasn't working. Childcare was covering literally all of my income without having to then spend out on food and nappies and milk and rent and whatever else that I was having to do.
Can I just say, I love that they're called nappies. Just wanted to say.
Oh, what diapers you call them, right?
Nappies sounds so much better than diapers. Anyway.
Yeah, so all of that kind of stuff. And I was on my own. I was thinking, what am I going to do? Right. So my mom, right, and this is the funny bit, my mom did Avon. So I was always kind of helping her with the Avon books and delivering things. So I was always kind of brought up around extra income. She had it as a little cat fund. She was obsessed with British short hairs. So she used the income for like vet bills and things like that. And I was the one getting drenched on my bike after school, like delivering all the catalogue. So I was always familiar with side hustles, I suppose, kind of being brought up. And I got involved with my first network marketing company at the age of 19. So I was, again, really, really young. It was very, very different. It wasn't something that I ever imagined turning into a full-time income. And I kind of dabbled with it for a little while. I ended up having my second child. Unfortunately, this is kind of where my story took a bit of a deep turn, and I'm not going to go over it into much detail because I know it can be a trigger for some women, but I went through domestic violence and I was just in a place where it was dark. It was really dark. And I honestly thought, I don't know how I'm going to pull through this. So that's when the knuckles, the gloves came on, and I was like, I got to fight. I've got to do something, because if I don't, I'm going to end up having 2 children. on my own, no income, not being able to do anything on benefits in the UK isn't what I wanted to do. You know, fine for whatever, but for me, it wasn't an option. So that's when I went really deep into network marketing. And I fought hard, and I went on to earn 7 figures. Never in a million years thought that would be me, because I am the person, and people watching this that know me from school and know me for me and friends and family. My dad watches these and he's like, Beth, how have you done it? I'm like, I don't know. But you know what? It taught.
Isn't that the best? Isn't that the best though? The people that knew you before,
yes.
They're like, "How is that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's weird. I know." People listen to me.
Yeah. It's weird because they're like, Beth, you left school with no GCSEs. Like when obviously I lost mum, it made me really shy, introverted, didn't want to see anybody, battling with, 16. I was coming into adulthood and I got no idea what I was doing. And that's when you really need a mum, right? And it was just how people look at me now. I'm like, I honestly, I think it was just fight or flight for me. It was make or break. And I had to choose, and I was a mum, and I didn't really have much choice then. So yeah, that's kind of my story, which has led me to you ultimately at the end. And now I've been here for, 16 months.
Was there a certain event that you went to? Was there a certain person that got you to go, wait a second, what am I doing playing with this thing? Like, this could be the thing that could get me out of my situation and not only create the financial upside, but then also the flexibility to raise my kids. Like, what was it that light bulb that went off for you, that experience?
I actually went to an event to Gary Vaynerchuk and Grant Cardone, and I sat in the audience, and I remember sitting there thinking, I should not be in this room. Like, this is crazy. And it was the feeling that I came out, and I went in like this and I came out like this, like the passion and the energy. And I think that's the one thing about me. And I've just asked my husband, I was like, if you could tell me one thing as to the reason why I've built this business, what would it be? And he was like, energy. It's your energy. It's the passion.
So true.
Yeah. And I think that was the turning point for me. I was like, I am playing too small. Like, I need to seriously forget what everybody else is saying, not worry about the naysayers and the haters and what everybody else thinks. And I just got to run. And I did.
Did you know how much potential you had? Like, did you know, like, deep inside, like, man, if I went all in, what could I do with this? Did you know? Did you realize that?
Yeah, I think so. I think because I'm a people's person and I understand relationship building, as Fraser says, it's turning strangers into friends with network marketing. And that's me. Like, I will speak to anyone. I am not afraid of chatting to anyone, and I love helping people. And I think that's kind of where this all stems from. If I can help one person genuinely, and I know people say this and it's cringe, but genuinely the best inbox messages that I get is, Beth, I've been able to earn such and such to pay for such and such. And that's what drives me forward. So I think deep down, even though I had a lot of barriers and I had a lot of things that I needed to break through, more personal self-development than anything. I think I did. Yeah.
Maybe you could talk about, for people that are like, yeah, sounds good. What do I do? How do I show up? What do I do to get things going so I can start to build some new relationships, so I can find some better people? Because I will say, most of us don't start off with like a super awesome warm market. Sounds like you didn't either. I know a lot of my warm market. I mean, it's like I knew a lot of people, but then a lot of those people like knew me, you know what I'm saying? So they were like, nah, good luck with that, John. So what was it for you that started to work and still today would be something you would recommend for people that want to branch out? They want to start, attracting different people and having a different, image, if you will, on social media.
It's funny you should say that, because I actually, an old live of mine popped up this morning. Oh my God, my hands were in, my head was in my hands. I was like, what on earth is this? It's terrible. But I think for me, like you said, going back, growth is important. Like, if I just came into this and was successful, I wouldn't know half what I know now. Like, going through those struggles has led me to where I'm at. So, okay, what did I do back then? Number one, I knew exactly what you said. My problems I shared openly on social media. and I searched for the solution to that problem, and I shared it once I'd found it. So for me personally, weight loss was a big thing. I'd had a baby at 19, I'd gained 5 stone, I was heavy, I needed to lose weight, I wasn't fit, I wasn't happy in myself. So for me coming in, it's finding your niche market and your target audience 100%. You need to really knuckle down on what it is that you're wanting to achieve and who you can help in the process. Because I always say to my team, if you cast the net too wide, or you just sell something because it's available and it really doesn't have any grit to you, you don't care about it, you don't use it, you're going to find it really, really hard to build a 6-7 figure business plus, right? So I was like, I need to find a product to help me lose weight. So I started to take product, lose weight, start to share it openly, start using the demonstrations. Facebook Live was my best friend back then. At the beginning, we didn't have it, which is like now showing how old, like we've both, like it's scary to think that everything was just on posts. So as soon as lives came out, even though they freaked me out and I used to shake when it used to count down the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I was like shaking like a leaf. I just did it because that was the best way for me to share my story, me being real, my journey, because people buy people, right? So for me, I was like, I need to show who I am now and where I'm going. And people saw the growth. Like they were saying, Beth, you're a lot more confident, like you're changing, I can see the weight loss. And that's how I started to build. But Facebook for me is by far the best platform that I've really focused on to kind of gain those relationships and rapport with people over the amount of years through different posts, you know, reels, carousels, you've got your live, just all the different tools and techniques that you can use. I'm the first one that's, even though I don't know how they work, I'm going to do it just so that I can kind of branch out and gain a bigger audience. At the beginning, it was chaos. I had sticky notes all over my house, need to do this, need to, I was a single parent. I physically couldn't be structured because I didn't know whether the baby was going to be sick or I needed to change her or it was crazy, right? And
obviously need to go and get some nappies. Yeah.
And with court as well, I was in court, I was in meetings, like I physically couldn't be as structured because my life was just chaos. Now, with scheduled posts, being able to have the access to schedule things, now, yes. Back then, beginning my business, even in the midst of 7 figures, no, not all the time. It was just as and when, I'll do it when I can. I knew what I needed to do in a day. I knew that I needed to show up. I knew that I needed to be persistent. I knew that I needed to constantly add to my network and make connections and build friendships.
It is interesting too, because once you get the hang of it, you have like so much you could post, so much you could talk about. Then it becomes like, I like what Nadya will say sometimes. She'll say, you know, sometimes you have like the curse of knowledge. It's like, you know, so much, you have so much to share, but you don't want to overwhelm someone. You don't want to overwhelm your audience. So you're like trying to find like little conversations, a little story, a little example, you know, 3 tips on this, or, you know, maybe it's not even a video, it's a post, right? And you're just sharing something and you just never know what's going to hit. You never know what's going to, you know, spark someone's interest. And they're going to go, you know what? I like her. I like him. I like how they show up. I like their personality. And now that person, because they like you, when they like your story, they like your personality, they like your videos. Like when you do promote something, they're like, you know what? I trust her. I like her. I'm curious. I want to learn more. And that is such a big piece of posting content. And again, you got to do it in a way that's authentic. So what would you tell someone, right? Because they're like, okay, I want to be authentic. What should I start doing? Should I just start doing live videos? Should I start doing posts? Like, what if I'm like terrified of video? Should I do it anyway? What would you say there?
100% do it anyway. Like you need to just put yourself out there. You've got to grow. And I think if you're going to keep this is what I say to people all the time, the biggest person standing in the way of you and success 9 times out of 10 is you. Like you just have to get out of your own head. The amount of people, and I always say you can never say the wrong thing to the right person anyway, right? Like you have to be yourself. You have to trust your instincts. You have to use your story. Your story is the most powerful thing that is going to help somebody relate from where they are to where you are. And for me, if I was to just go out there and start spamming products and spamming business, that's not me. Like that's not who I am. My company is not who I am. I am the person that they're coming to for help in the mentor side and to help build a business on social media. But 9 times out of 10, people don't go to the company, they go to you.
Right.
So you've got to be the person that's out there sharing who you are, how you can help. I do a lot of so when I'm speaking to people, I don't like overcomplicating things, because my niche market are going to be similar to me, right? So for me, I'm a really simple soul. I can't overcomplicate things because I genuinely do get really confused. So when I'm speaking to people and I'm posting things, I'm posting it in a really simple form that people understand, rather than this language that people just don't get, especially if they're not in your industry. So 100%, you've got to throw yourself out there. You've got to be real. You've got to share your story, let people see the growth, and let people come on the journey with you, because then that intrigues them even more as to how you've grown, how you've gone from A to B. And they're going to start thinking, well, you know, if she's done it, then I can do it too, because they've seen you at your starting point.
Let's say somebody starts telling their story. They start doing the lives. They're putting up the posts. And, you know, some people will say, oh, the algorithm, or, you know, it's harder to get attention. But like you said, I really want to touch on this, is energy, right? Having energy, having that enthusiasm, as Nadya would say. So my question is, on the back end, what does that look like, right? You start getting some likes, some follows, some comments, right? Maybe you start to get a little bit of engagement from people, and you're like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I transition that into a recruiting conversation?
Talk. This is what I keep saying to people, like, use your mouth. Like, we all can talk, speak to people, ask questions. Like, the more questions that you ask, the more you get to know, and the more you can listen to what it is that they need, right? Instead of being like, oh my God, I've got someone on my inbox, and then it's like verbal diarrhea. That does not work. You've not listened to them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their problems are. You've just put into their inbox what you want, because you want them to join, because you're going to get paid from it. That is not, I just think it's terrible. I still get it, John, now. And I'm like, whoa, you haven't even spoken to me. You don't know anything about me. Like, I don't want to know about your business until you know that it's something at least that is going to fit in with my life, that I'm going to be interested in. So if I start to get people that are like watching my stories, are the biggest thing for me, John, right now.
Ooh,
like,
okay, good. That's great. I like that.
I go through my stories, I look at the viewers, and I start conversations with them, even if it's just a, hey, thanks for viewing my story. Lovely to connect. Have an amazing day. Something so simple.
But isn't it funny? Isn't it funny what you just said? You just said, thanks for viewing my story. How are you? Like,
simple.
isn't it, people are like, what do I say if someone's watching my stories? Like, thanks for watching my story.
Exactly. But this is what I mean. People overcomplicate things. It's the same with content. What do I post? I'm like, really, like, if you go on, I don't know, Pinterest, Etsy, you'll see like graphics and what you can post, ideas for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Get into a routine. Like, it's not hard. It's where people overcomplicate things because they think that they're not good enough to be doing. You just need to talk. You seriously just need to talk to people. Open a conversation, let them ask you questions. Hopefully it's going to lead to, you know, well, what do you do? I'm interested. And this is where a lot of the back work comes in for me, because that's great. But if your posts don't reflect any sort of enthusiasm or success or business, what are they going to ask you? So instead of thinking, right, I've got to have conversations with people, make sure your profile's good enough first, right? Because your profile is your shop front. And for me, if someone's going to ask me about the business, they're going to look at my profile first. And the first few posts, if they're flat, if I've not posted for weeks, your audience have got nothing to ask you anyway. So making sure that you've got a good profile, then start reaching out to people that are viewing your stories. They're going to go and look at your posts. Then hopefully those questions are going to come in. So I think your profile, your shop front, is so important, and you need to keep updating that. Yes.
How often would you encourage someone to talk about their business or their products? And how? Would you do live videos, stories, reels? I would love to hear your perspective on that. And by the way, those of you watching, this is really important to write down, because, you know, what works for me is different than what works for Beth or the next person I interview, right? So I'd like to hear that. What's that blend for you?
Okay, every day. Do you know what? The biggest thing that for me that gains interest, obviously having a good product is key, right? Having a product that's intriguing. And I mean, I'm not here to talk company, but chocolate on a spoon for me just works, right? People are like, what on earth is that? So every single morning I'm on my stories. I'm a mom, right? So I'm not going to look glam every morning. Sometimes I'm in my pajamas and my hair is scraped on top of my head. I don't care what people think, right? Because this is me. This is my profile. If people don't like me, then they'll go and find someone else. And that's absolutely fine by me. So every morning I've got my spoon, if you've, different product, whatever, and I take it and I show and demonstrate my morning routine every single day on a story, and I'll use a poll or a questions box to allow people to speak to me, because some people are so scared. Like, I've got people on Facebook that'll say, I've been following you for 9 years, and I'm like, what? Like, you should have just spoken to me. I'm too scared. So it gives them that poll so that all they've got to do is click it, and then I can then go into their inbox and speak to them. So every single day I'm on my stories, and it's my face, because look, now everything's AI. It's not even real. Like, people want a conversation with a human, right? And they want to be able to know that you're real. So my face, my voice, every single day on stories, I'm taking products or I'm sharing my journey, whether it's walking the dog, whether it's picking the kids up from school. There'll be business in there, but there'll also be my daily routine that people are going to pick up on and say, well, I do the school run. I've seen her business post, but I do the school run. I've got children. How does she do all of this?
Right.
And that kind of opens. Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're like a normal person. Like,
yes.
And, I like what you said. Every day I show my products. Every day I'm talking to my network of people. And some people are afraid because they're like, well, I don't want to turn people off. Like, this tells me you don't believe in what you're doing. Because if you believe in what you're doing, why would you keep it a secret? Why wouldn't you tell people about the product that's changed your life? Now, you might say, well, product hasn't changed my life. I just got started on the product. Okay, well, share other people's stories. Share other people's before and afters. Like, you don't have to use your story. Like, I've sold a ton of our 5-day drop, our lean body system, or, the UK body transformation system, right? Like, I've sold a ton of that. But I never had like a big weight loss story. So, you don't necessarily have to be a product of all the products. Now, you should be a product of some of the products, and the ones you're most passionate about, the ones I drink 2 cups of the collagen coffee every morning. It's my favorite product. So it's easier for you to talk about it. So you find ways to show up and connect, relate, create content that's going to resonate with people. And by the way, one of the best ways you can do this, talk about your problems. Talk about the problems you either have or had, because most people that have those same problems, when you say, here's the solution I found, they're going to be like, well, what is it? Tell me more. It's amazing how simple that is. Any closing thoughts for people that are wanting to recruit 1,000 people like you on Facebook? They're wanting to get out there. They're wanting to, get better. Any closing thoughts that you would suggest to those people?
Be consistent, right? Just get a goal, make a decision. The first thing, right? Like, you've got to make a decision and you got to stick to it, because it's not going to be easy. And I think people make this decision that they think is a decision, and then 5 minutes later, they've changed their minds because it's a little bit harder than. So come in with come in with a decent thought of, this isn't going to be an easy thing to do, but it's going to be something that can impact and change your life. And you can dream of everything. I never thought I'd move to Spain. I literally picked up the kids 3 years ago and we all moved to Spain. I'd retired Steve. The kids were in a private school. It was crazy. Like, I never thought that was possible. So make a decision. Literally make a decision that you're going to stand by on the hard days. On the good days, you need to bottle up all of the energy, right? You need to watch people. You need to bottle up that emotion, and then you got to use it on the days that you're feeling like crap, right? So open that lid, let it all come out, and let it inspire you, because there are going to be days that you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And you've got to sometimes recalibrate, unplug to come back. It's one of those things. But I think if you're thinking about it, make a decision, come up with a plan, find somebody that inspires you, create a little goal, things that are going to be things that you can do in the starting times, right? Rather than overloading and coming up with this crazy plan that you're never going to stick to. Start small, get some little goals, achieve them, and find someone that can help you do it is kind of, what I would say.